Happy birthday, America. I'm Ryan, he's Mike, and it's eggs. This is eggs. This is eggs.
What's eggs?
Eggs is a podcast about all things creative, regardless of what that means to you. From the creativity involved in launching a business, building a brand, crafting an entertainment career, or whatever, we'll talk about the process of growing your eggs from start to finish.
Happy 4th of July, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. For everybody listening to the show on Thursday, we're actually recording on Tuesday, July 4th. Tuesday is our normally scheduled recording day, but because of the holiday, we thought things might be a little bit different. But both Mike and I were able to make a window today, so we're doing it.
Yeah, it worked out great. I'm at a friend's house in Seattle who has a mic and everything set up, so I didn't even have to use my equipment. So it's perfect.
Oh, even better. Yeah, you barely had to set up.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Just sat my ass down in the chair and we're good.
Great. Well, this is the second of many international editions of the Eggs Show. I'm still coming to you live from Barcelona, Spain, and Mike still is in Seattle. So for everybody who listened to last week, the scenery hasn't changed a lot.
No, I'm still here. I've been officially on the road, I think, for like 16 days now. So.
Oh, wow.
Pretty crazy.
So, yeah, no joke. Yeah, I've been here in Barcelona about a week and a half now. I've been attending, or the primary reason for coming over here, I mean, of course, there's business and everything else, but the big reason I'm here and for the amount of time I'm here is so that I can attend a language academy here. So I'll give them a shout out. It's a place called Camino, Barcelona, and it's a language academy here. I'm having a really great experience there so far. Are you kind of
picking up the language better, or is it?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. They put me in or ranked me as an A2 6-7 or 7-8 or something like that. And now I am a A2 11. So later this week I'll be an A2 12.
You're officially into middle school.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And so, but next Thursday is the big exam to see if I can bump up a level or two. And so I've got to do a bunch of extra studying this week because I would love to get out of here with maybe a B2.
Do they give you like a certificate or something? Like, how does that work?
This school is a Cervantes school. And so they are nationally recognized and everything here in Spain, and the Cervantes accreditation, as far as I understand, is well known and liked worldwide for Spanish education. So as far as I understand, it's a good accreditation to have, and a level B2, while it's not quite fluent, is it's still pretty decent. I still probably won't be quite where I can really do business in the language, but I'll definitely be in a spot where I can socialize and get to know people better.
Do they have you
understand
reading
a little more?
Just books in Spanish or whatever?
I mean, the place is full immersion, so basically everything's in Spanish. The instruction we're receiving from the teachers is Spanish. The books we're reading in class are Spanish. Everything is Spanish. And I think the concept is, they put you in an environment where you've got to be tested. I mean, everything they're doing, every instruction they're giving to you in Spanish, and so you're forced to figure out, what it is.
That's cool.
I'm lucky. The way my Spanish education has been really odd. Like, I didn't do it in school like a lot of normal people do. After meeting my partner over here, who we'll talk about in a little bit, I started to just try and learn it a little bit on my own. So I started taking it in sort of piecemeal, using iPhone apps and books and magazines and websites.
Like, I can't ride with him in the car because it's all in Spanish. It's like all his music is like
in my house or in my car because it's.
I've actually kind of like
and whatever, but
I dig it though. It's like I'm finding songs that I've actually found.
What's the biggest song in the U.S. right now? Despacito.
Lindo, yeah.
It's stinking everywhere, and it's Spanish, and it's reggaeton. It's exactly the kind of stuff I've been forcing down your throat every time you ride with
So
me for
I'm
months
like
and years.
leaps and bounds ahead in my DJ career because
That's
of you.
right. The world is coming around. Or I shouldn't say the world, because I'm sure there are plenty of people who've been playing reggaeton a lot longer than I've been listening to it. But but anyway, basically every channel I could use to take in a little bit of Spanish, I've been using. Spanish podcasts, Spanish TV, Spanish everything.
So one thing,
Go
so when I was learning, I don't know that they know this yet, but I lived in the Philippines for a little while, and it was Region 8, and it was Samar Leyte Islands, and they speak Visayan there, and a dialect called Waray, and they don't really have there's no training guides. There's no way to actually kind of, I can't go buy a book on how to speak Waray and learn the language. One thing that I really got better at doing was I would talk to the kids, because all the kids there are kind of at the they're trying to learn English, and so they're excited to talk to an American, and then I'm trying to learn their language, and their speaking is slow enough where I can understand it, and where I could kind of, I've heard that word before, and I was able to, after living there for about 6-7 months, I was able to become fluent in the dialect. And I found that...
Well, and in fact, I tried the same thing. I tried to corral a bunch of little kids I found on the street around here. But, God, I was getting some weird looks, man.
Dude, seriously.
Finally, I let them go, though. I mean, no big deal, but...
No, I would just, they would run up and be like, "Oh, Dong, what's up?" They call us Dong. I don't know, whatever. But
I think Dong is just sort of another way.
Dong is a slacker. It's like like a 14-year-old kid that's not doing anything with his life, and they for some reason they would call you Dong and Joe, and they would always come up to me and they'd be like, "Hey, Joe, kaon ka tahi?" And essentially that's, "Hey, Joe, eat crap." And they would always lose it when I would reply, "Hey, Dong," which is the 14-year-old slacker kid. I would say, "Inom ka ihi," and that's drink piss.
Excellent.
Sorry to...
Yeah, it's funny because, I've got some friends here that have kids and stuff, so I've had the opportunity to speak with a few little kids in Spanish. My problem is that what I catch myself doing is just one-upping them, because I know my colors and numbers too. So I mean, between, so I mean,
oh yeah,
it gives me an opportunity to be better than someone.
That's funny.
I'm just joking. They're actually still way better than me, but I'm definitely good on colors. So
you got the numbers up to 15. Can you do 22? 22?
Dude, I can get to 100 no problem. So,
it's when you run out of the toes. That's the...
Yeah, it's no joke. Yeah. So anyway, so the school is going great. The type of curriculum we're doing is, right now at my level, we're working in a past tense, which has been traditionally a hard one for me to figure out. So it's something I'm going to have to really work on.
Is the language the same as far as in English? I think it's in Waray it was verb, actor, object, location. So it's like running.
Oof,
it throws the...
I don't know anything about grammar.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of reversal of things. Now I don't know if it's the subject and the noun. I don't know. I don't know grammar.
Yeah.
But which is unfortunate. I've been told by some of my other Spanish teachers along the way that what I have is a good ear for the language, meaning I can hear it and I can speak it and I can put things in the right order because to me it feels right. I have some sort of intuition about what sounds about right.
Uh-huh.
And so that sort of allows me to cheat a little bit and not have to learn the grammar. And I didn't realize it until I really started learning Spanish, but I'm a pretty darn good writer in English, not to toot my own horn, but I'm a decent writer. But the parts of speech and the grammar and all that stuff is the same in English, in terms of verbs and nouns and all those different things. But I don't know them in English either.
Yeah.
But it's for this reason. It's because I have a good ear for it. So I'm able to put together good quality writing because it sounds right to me.
You know, it's just
And
natural too. It's not like you had to sit down and actually think, okay, this is the verb, this is the actor, this is the object, and this is the location. And then
right,
when I learned Wadai, it was I had to actually, because if you say something out of order, it sounds ridiculous, and people would start, hey, it goes this way, and then you had to kind of put it all together. But that's the only reason that I ever worried about it. Like even in school, like I said, in high school,
well,
I
and
didn't
it's
even.
funny because sort of unbeknownst to me, thinking back to like high school and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure I did a bunch of grammar worksheets and things like that. But most of what you're tested on in an English class or whatever is on your writing. You're putting together essays and you're doing things like that. And for me, I had this advantage where I could put together a paper that sounded good by just hearing it and knowing what sounded good.
Oh, there's a pause there.
Versus
Let's put a comma.
yeah, versus actually having to think about the grammar. And so I guess I sort of cheated through school. But now it's biting me in the butt because I need to know those things for Spanish, and I don't have a great grasp of them.
Yeah, well,
And so,
it'll come. It's just the now that you're paying attention to it, it's easier to pick up on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting it. It's not rocket science, but like for me, the problem is it adds a step when people say, hey, just, that needs to have a pronoun in front of it. And then, you do this and then use the gerund and then the whatever. And, it's like, it adds a beat in there where I have to actually think about what I'm saying or think about how it works.
And it slows you down.
Which slows me down and keeps me from sounding fluent or being able to speak it, with any kind of rate.
Get a book and read it out loud to yourself, just by yourself. And that's pretty much one of the main ways that I studied was I would, there was like 2 or 3 books that I had that were in Wadai, and I would just read it to myself, and that's what I was told to do, and it worked.
That's a clever idea. Yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me about TV and movies, make sure, put on Spanish TV, put on a movie.
And if you do put on the TV, turn the subtitles on so you can read along with it.
Yeah, I mean, I did that with Narcos on Netflix, which is, it's not 100% Spanish, but it's like
close
85%
enough, right?
Spanish. So it felt like that was pretty good. I do have Spanish satellite TV here, but I haven't turned it on. Unfortunately, I've got it linked up to my Fire Stick, and I just watch movies all the time. So I don't watch enough Spanish TV. But anyway, but I like that idea, the suggestion of the book. That's a good idea. And also, I mean, really talking to the kids is an interesting suggestion too, because they might speak at my rate.
That's the thing is they speak like slower, and they're not as like they're not using big words. Like there's the word for faith in Wadai is pananamparataya, and it's like I would never use that in normal day-to-day language, but having a basic conversation with a kid versus an adult, words like that aren't going to come up. They're just normal day to day, like, hey, whatever, just basic conversation stuff,
Sure.
and so that's going to help you get the grasp on the language quicker. And then as things go further, those bigger words are going to come with it,
Well, and I will say, sort of props to Duolingo. It's an iPhone app and it's a website and everything. It's just free language training. It's sort of like a free version of Rosetta Stone. And what I really like about it is, I have a hard time with the way it teaches the different tenses, the forward and the past and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it did do a really good job with me in terms of vocabulary. I picked up a lot of words, and so as I've been learning, what I was starting to talk about before when they were assessing my level is because my education has been so piecemeal. Even though I tested at an A2, whatever I said, 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever it was. There's parts of B and maybe even C that like I have some knowledge about that weren't necessarily something I was tested for, because maybe I don't know how to say certain things in a certain right way or whatever, but I will have vocabulary that's more advanced because maybe I've picked up one thing from someplace and something from
You've
something
heard it a
else.
few times and you put the pieces together.
And so,
and
well,
figured
and
it
especially
out.
like Spanish cultural things, I mean, just I've been here enough that I've picked up enough things, there's some stuff that might be higher level than a B2, or an A2, but we'll, I guess we'll see. But so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So anyway, to sort of wrap up the talk about the school, anyway, I just wanted to say it's been a cool experience sort of meeting some new people. I've met a handful of American people. I have an American in the class now. She's from New York.
It's got to be fun to hear her accent combined with it.
Yeah, I suspect that she's like from the Midwest, living in New York now, like going to college or something there. She just started in our group on Monday, so I don't really know her yet. But she doesn't have an accent at all.
So you imagine a big Jersey accent trying to speak Spanish.
Yeah, well, and I just had another kid. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe it's like I found in Boston. Maybe not everybody's got the heavy accent because. The last week there was a kid, his name was George, and George just finished up his training at this academy last week, but he was from New York also, well, New Jersey, but near New York, and he didn't have any accent either. He was very neutral. So I don't know, maybe she's legit, but I want to think she's probably from like Ohio, and
okay,
repping New York. So, but anyway, and then we've got our class consists of like 5 or 6 people. We have a few that have been a little flaky and not showing up, but I've got a couple Italian kids, German girl, dude from France. And so anyway, it's this cool, interesting, like multicultural mix of people. And the school, one thing that they do that I think is really cool is they sort of, encourage a lot of social interaction with your classmates and with Spanish people and stuff. So they have different events and activities like every night. I've been working a lot, so I haven't been able to attend a lot of them. But the first one I went to last week was a paella cook-off. For anybody that hasn't had paella or doesn't know what that is, basically it's a saffron rice. So it's a yellow rice. Here it's made with a lot of seafood, so clams and mussels and fish and little lobsters, langostinos, things like that.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's bomb.
Do they use Old Bay?
In the west of Spain, they do more with meats, but out here in Barcelona, it's mostly seafood. But anyway, so they put together this kind of a cookout, but it was a paella cookout. And so they brought 30 kids from the school together and showed us all how to prepare paella. And,
well, that's awesome.
All that.
They're actually kind of...
Yeah, they show you how to prepare it, what it's made out of, how it works. All the teachers, well, most of the teachers there are Spanish. So you're interacting with these Spanish people. They're showing you how to cook. They also made sangria, which was nice. And so we had a lot of sangria and watched the paella cook. And so anyway, that was really cool. The second thing I did is I just went on a little tour with a group of kids from the class. To see the Arc de Triomphe, which actually is right next to my house. So it was really convenient, which is why I went on this activity. But so I toured the Arc de Triomphe, and there's a big park right there, too, that we went through. And then afterwards, we went to a champaneria and had champagne and tapas and stuff, and it was really great. So
That's
super
neat.
fun. This week, I haven't seen the list yet, but there's all new activities for this week. They do little excursions to different cities and stuff, so you can really maximize what you do around here, and it's pretty cheap. I think to go to last weekend they went to a city called Sitges, which is maybe an hour south of Barcelona, and I think it was 25 euros or something to go.
That's not bad. Pretty much just the transportation there and back.
Yeah, and you go down in a private bus, and you have your teacher there so they can answer questions or whatever, and it's pretty slick. So
that's neat
anyway,
that it's optional and they're not trying to force it on you.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, and most of the activities are free. There's just a handful of them that cost money, but in general, they're free.
That's neat.
And so, so it's cool. And I mean, most of the people that I'm in class with are young. They're in college. They don't have a lot of extra dough, and so cheap events work for them. I mean, a lot of them were just, whining about having to come up with the 35 euros to buy the book.
Oh, wow.
For the
Yeah.
class. And so it's like, I mean, first of all, do you really need to be studying abroad if you don't have $35 for a book? But but at the same time, I get it. These are young college kids. They don't have a lot of income or anything, and they're just here to study. And so
Well, that's like you got to equate it to beer.
yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
like
well,
4
that's
beers.
just it. I mean, €35 for that is like, well, God, I mean, a beer here is like a euro 50. I mean, it's you could drink a lot of beers on €35.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Still,
yeah, no, that's
like a
that's
24
one of the
pack,
best
man.
things about it here. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive here in the city where I'm at, but in general, like beer and food in general is pretty affordable. That kind of stuff's not real expensive. I mean, of course, you can find expensive. I mean, there's nice restaurants everywhere too, but just the general spot on the corner or whatever, you might pay
You're not paying the 60
7 or 8
Vegas
euros, and
drink.
you'll get a sandwich and some fries and coffee and some little appetizer and a beer.
That's
I
amazing.
mean, it's a pretty decent amount of food, and it's not like giant like American portions or whatever, but it's it's plenty of food. It's more than enough food.
Awesome.
And so it's pretty great actually. And it's been good. The other thing I've noticed is, man, I'm walking my little butt off. I'm definitely getting my steps every day. So,
Did you bring the right shoes, or are you hating life?
I brought a lot of shoes, several that were a little more fashion forward than
how it
others, and a handful of flips and things like that. But so far, so good. In my first time here in Barcelona, I had only come with a pair of Chuck Taylors that were way worn out, and we did a lot of tourism on that first trip, and so we spent a lot of time walking. And man, my feet were just destroyed. And like
The first time I went
weeks
to
after,
Vegas,
had
I made
trouble.
the same mistake. I went down there thinking I'll get dressed up to go out, and then I started walking around town and seeing everything, and by the end of the day, my feet were horrible. Dress shoes in Vegas, not a good idea.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, the big goal, I don't know if it's just sort of the American standard or whatever, but, they've got that sort of target number of about 10,000 steps a day. And I'm a person that, sits at my computer and works most of the day. So unfortunately, I don't get over 4,000 or 5,000 steps most days. And that's even maybe a little high, but, which is awful, and I need to do better. But I haven't had a day here with less than 15,000 steps. And
that's
so
great.
but I mean, it's I leave my flat, which in and of itself is a bit of a feat. 'Cause
Isn't it
I've
like
got
117 steps?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it is a workout, and I'm convinced my ass is getting firmer with every trip up and down the stairs.
I just see you
But-
standing and looking in the mirror, dude.
Yeah, so it's all day. My ass is getting a workout, and then but I walk over to the metro station from here. I take the train 3 or 4 stops over to my school. I walk over to the school. When I'm done, I walk for lunch. I walk for this and that. And part of it's because I don't have a car. But for people here, having a car is difficult. It's hard to park. It's hard to do anything.
I have many friends in Seattle that don't have a car because it's too much of a hassle. You have to pay for parking, and finding parking's rough, and just the tabs in Seattle are expensive. So it's easier to just take public transit.
Yeah, it really is. Well, and Seattle has a pretty decent system too. Here in Barcelona, it's amazing. I mean, there's buses and trains every 2 minutes. So anything you want to do, you can get anywhere really easily.
Yep. Have you ever been to DC?
No.
Dude, it's night and day compared to Seattle.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Seattle kind of, they took their time deciding to have Metro Transit and have like subways and stuff like that.
Did they stop and think about it when they were stranded on I-5 for 4.5 hours?
Dude.
Was that the time that the city planner went,
Oh,
I wonder
hey,
if we could do
something's
something
wrong
about this?
Yeah, that's an
every day on his
occurrence.
commute to work when he sits there for an hour. I
Yeah.
wonder if he has some time to think about that maybe.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. Anyways, yeah. So what?
Out in DC, it's great.
So what? What was that?
Oh, I just said, but out in DC, it's great. The
Oh,
public
DC
transit.
is amazing. Like, I had never been there before. I didn't even have to pull my phone out to look anything up. I just looked at the maps on the wall and said, okay, I'm trying to get here, jump on this subway, and it's like a big loop, and you can get to all different parts within a mile or two, and then Uber it for like $4, and you get a day pass, and it's just super easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember I came out to see you. God, it's been a few years ago now when you were living in Anacortes. And I got into Seattle, and I can't remember what you were doing. You were working or something, coming from Anacortes, and I had a few hours to kill, and so I was going into, or I wanted to go catch up with a friend of mine that works at a tattoo shop there, and then I was going to a comedian, and you were going to meet me at the comedian that night.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so, but what I did is just, I mean, as soon as I got there, I whipped out Google Maps and was able to take the train from SeaTac into the city, and then from there take the buses all around. And I mean, I was able to get to right where I needed to go with like no problem at all.
Yeah, I started using that because you told me about that. I had never thought to pull out Google and select, okay, I want the next bus, and they literally have it down to the minute.
Oh yeah, it's like down to the second even. I mean, yeah, it's like if it says there's going to be a bus there in 10 seconds, it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. So anyway, enough about me. Not that I'm not happy to keep talking about me, but I think we've probably beat that one into the ground. So Mike, you mentioned at the top of the show though that you've been on the road for maybe the last 16 days or so. What are you doing?
I had I've had 4 gigs on this trip. One was a private party for a yacht club in Anacortes, and that was they literally had me shut the music off for a little bit because one of them wanted to put their dog down for a nap. That is fantastic. Yeah, that was amazing. I literally sat there and twiddled my thumbs for 45 minutes while the dog took a nap.
Yeah, I guess as long as their check clears.
They were paying me to be there, so I'm whatever. I'm cool. But that was an interesting one. And then the next day, I drove from there to Lake Chelan and did a wedding, and my friends were going to float a river on Sunday, and they're in Anacortes. I saw them at the gig the day before, and they're like, "Hey, you should come back and float this river with us." I'm like, "That sounds so much fun." And so after the wedding, I packed up and I drove back to Anacortes, and got there, and they had already left, and I was stupid. I didn't call them and say, "Hey, I'm on my way." So they just took off, assuming I wasn't going to be there. And I got there. I'm like, "Oh, hey, bud, I don't see your car out front. Where you at?" "Oh, man, we're already 45 minutes out." So I'm like, "Oh, you know what? It's probably a good thing because I have like horrible sunburn going on my forehead." For those of you that, well, I guess all of you don't know me. I wear a hat 95% of the time, and I'm going out to do a wedding, and it was the worst sun. Like, you couldn't get out of the sun all day, and so the top of my head was just burnt. I didn't have sunscreen, and it was bad. So it was probably a really good thing I didn't actually get it to go back and float on the river. But
yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So then I hung out that whole week, and just worked on the website project. I probably on the GitHub account, when I updated the file, there were about 65,000 lines of code that changed in that week, and a lot of that's copy and paste, and just like importing some CSS that's already written and stuff like that. So it's not like I did all 65,000 lines, but I spent, I don't know, probably 40 hours last 2 weeks working on the site.
Well, that's awesome, though. We got to be making good progress.
Oh, I'll show you sometime.
Yeah, I'd love a sneak peek.
Anyways, then I played at the ballroom, or I played at the Brown Lantern last Friday, played at the ballroom on Saturday, and I thought it was going to be a slow night because of the holiday. I thought all the college kids and everything would be out of town, but it packed out. It was a crazy busy night. And then now I'm at a friend's house, and we're doing a 4th of July barbecue. And
the big 4th of July BBQ.
Dude, you could probably hear the luau music in the background, so if you can pick
That's
that
right.
up,
I think it sets the ambiance. Every now and then you'll hear fireworks going off here too for completely unrelated reasons, but for today it feels perfectly festive, so we'll let it slide.
We're gonna go find some sparklers, Ryan, and get your American on.
Yeah, I should be able to find something around here. Buy some firecrackers off some kid that I'm speaking Spanish to.
So I guess our topic for the day is work and life balance, right? Is that
Yeah, and basically, it's become kind of a buzzword, or it's a little bit something that is really common in sort of corporate culture now. But I thought it was sort of apropos to talk about it right now while I'm in Spain, because for me, my sort of interest in the subject came from my experience working with my partner here. It, sort of came to me in a weird backwards way, because before meeting Anna, my partner here in Spain, I had not, it hadn't even occurred to me that there was something outside of just a work balance.
Yeah.
And, for most people who know anything about Spanish culture, there is definitely a stereotype, which isn't that far off, that the folks here, know how to party, they know how to relax.
Yeah.
And it's definitely true. They do know how to party, they do know how to relax, and they do know how to really enjoy their lives. And it's for that reason that they, have a higher, average age of death than we do in the States. Yeah, the lifespans here are quite a bit higher than in the U.S. I think maybe only second or third to places like Japan and things like that, where they have high rates also. And and it's funny because having a U.S. based company working here in Spain, we run into some, sort of summertime woes. The biggest one is that in general, Spain is closed for July and August. Definitely August, but a big part of July often.
Define closed.
I mean, businesses will shut their door and put a sign on that says "See you in September."
Wow.
They're gone.
That's awesome.
They close and they go on holiday. And
I am so jealous of that, because that sounds like exactly what I would love to do. And I know, right? It's so hard to be like, okay, I'm going to just disappear for a few months.
Unfortunately, in the U.S., we don't work that way. Yeah. And so, while I have been working over the last few years since having met Anna, to take a little bit more time off than I am sort of accustomed to. We even take a couple Spanish holidays off in the States, just sort of, in solidarity for our Spanish brethren, and excuses for me to, get a day off every now and then. But we run into some problems over here because of the schedules with our people, where we're having a hard time balancing who's at work and who's on vacation. And luckily this year, it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad anyway. But like right now, one of our designers is out for 10 days. As soon as she gets back, Anna is leaving for a week. And then as soon as Anna gets back, the other one's leaving for a few more days. And then Anna's leaving again at the end of the month. And, and kudos to Anna. She's more American than she is Spanish in some respects. And she doesn't take every Spanish holiday off. And there are many. But she doesn't take all of them off. She works through like a real trooper most of the time. And so does our other designer. But there are some holidays more important than others. But there are a crap load of holidays. Yeah. So by all rights, she could take a lot more time. But she understands our situation and knows that, I can't deal with somebody being gone all the time. So anyway.
Well, that's cool. But, at least she kind of, still does her share instead of, it's holiday peace.
Yeah, no, she's good. And I think it helps that we were friends first, because she's really considerate of that. It's not just, he's my, asshole boss from another country and he just sends money and I just collect a check. Like she actually gives a crap about me and about the business. And
that's good.
She is supportive of all that stuff, even though it's not always popular to be in Spain and not take those days off, because all her friends want to go out and she does, and she'll not go out.
Working with friends is kind of a double-edged sword, because sometimes they're great like that, and other times they take advantage of your friendship.
Yeah, and I've been really lucky with this one, because generally, I would say, there's probably a lot more friendships ruined in business than there are made in business.
Yep.
And, we've only been at this 3 years. I mean, there's plenty of time to get screwed over, I guess. But I'm being optimistic and hoping we don't end up there.
Yeah, that's a good idea there.
So, but to get into the work-life balance, basically for people who don't really know what it is, it's sort of defined as the concept of proper prioritization between work your career, your ambition, and lifestyle, health, pleasure, leisure, family, spiritual development, whatever it is. And so basically it's, don't work too much, don't play too much, find some balance there in the middle. Although it sounds funny, as I mentioned, it didn't really occur to me that this was a thing until I met Anna, which was 3 years ago. So, deep into my 30s by then, and really it should have occurred to me sooner. But for at least a decade, I was pretty much nose down, just working, trying to build a business, trying to build a career. Just go all the time. And you can ask anybody. I'm still this way, but I mean, laptop's on my lap at the beach.
Same. Like you're there watching TV and you're drawing something, or laying out a menu for a restaurant. You're always got something going on.
There's always something. And I have tried in the last couple of years, sort of, thanks to Anna and her tutelage, to try and chill out a little bit. If something's not a rush, don't kill myself for it. Let her take some responsibility so that I can have some time off, that kind of thing. And so I've had to grow a little bit as a boss and as a coworker, because up to the time that she came on board, it was just me.
Yeah.
And so
it's
I
hard
didn't have to answer to anybody else.
It's super hard to release your grasp and your hold of your baby and let someone else kind of take the reins. Because in your mind, no one's ever good enough to handle your work. Well, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not even that the work I'm doing is so profound. It's just that, I guess, after it being my thing for so long, I was a bit of a control freak about it. And so I have tried to temper that a little bit.
Well,
but anyway,
go
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just for me, like in my industry, I used to send guys to gigs to, like I'd double book myself. Like Audio Star, the business, would book 2 or 3 gigs, and I'd send guys out to do like a middle school dance or a high school dance or something like that. And I never felt comfortable while they were out. I always felt relieved when I got a positive review or talked to the client afterwards, and they were, they did okay. But the whole time I'm walking on eggshells thinking, I'll text him, hey, is everything good? Hey, send me a picture of your setup, and it took a long time for me to really trust the people I work with and realize that they can handle it, and to, let them handle it. So.
Yeah, no, it's a really big deal. And did I hear you say eggshells? Sorry, there was a button here. I had to try it. So, anyway.
Okay. Give the plug give this software a plug for that.
We talked about it a little bit last week, but we're using this software called Zencastr, Zencastr.com. It's a podcasting software, but it's made working remotely with Mike during this trip and maybe beyond super easy.
That sound bar is freaking cool. Just having the buttons and being able to just hit something on the fly like the intro or something like that. This Zencast software is amazing. It's great.
It really is great. And I mean, I haven't been motivated enough to really sit down and upload any sound effects or anything like that. But I felt compelled to use the little rim shot.
Yeah, that's funny. I wasn't even expecting it. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good reaction. So anyway, getting back into this, working with Anna abroad and her sort of steering my development in terms of a work-life balance, I've learned a handful of things that are sort of characteristics about the Spanish that I've found that I enjoy, that I like, that I want to implement in my life, or at least to some degree be better at. Some of those things are, first of all, that they've gone too far. Basically, they have a great life balance, but the work part
kind of
not so
suffering
much.
a little bit.
Now, that's a gross generalization because, of course, there are people here who are very busy, who have are very career driven. I mean, of course, it exists. They're humans. But they do have a really good sense of life, and it is definitely a higher priority than work in almost every occasion that I've come across.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, so in my mind, I have to find something kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
In terms of being an American working in Spain, I have to find some kind of balance. I don't get to take 50 days off a year.
Yeah.
But I do think that something in the middle is probably a healthy way to be.
Well, one thing that I've, just being on this trip for 16 days or whatever. Like I intentionally will take trips like this because I get away from the TV, I get away from distractions, and I can focus on this website project. And I do a lot of work on that, but I'll go and do some work at a bar and have a few drinks and socialize, and then, get back to work during the day, and then I'll meet people, and I'm at this barbecue on the 4th of July with my buddy Scott, and he's a great DJ in Seattle and awesome dude, and it's just nice to be able to be self-employed so you can take days off when you need to.
Well, and that leads right into the next thing I was going to talk about, which is taking time for yourself and others. And actually, while I think it's super important, and it's funny because just in doing research for this show, maybe my mind or my perspective has shifted a little bit. But in my mind, it was originally about spending time with other people and trying to, really develop a social life and take good care of your friends and all that stuff, which is great and noble and should definitely be part of this work-life balance. But the part that I think I hadn't put enough value on, that now that I think more about it might actually be more important, is taking time for yourself.
Yeah.
And you just alluded to it, get away from the computer, get away from your phone, go out and just have a beer and be social, but kind of do that for you.
Yeah.
It's not as much about your friends. It is about your
it's your mental state
peace
of
mind,
being.
and you going out and enjoying life, and you having a good time.
There's something to be said about, like meditation and just having moments to yourself and being able to think about your day, think about what you need to get done, and just kind of unwind a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's super important to do something like that. Meditation is something I've read many books on and not yet started.
You know what? I've tried it like twice, 2 or 3 times now, and they tell you slow, deep breaths, whatever. And what I've read is like you kind of just get lost in this, like whatever. And
sounds like we've got an experiment on our hands.
I know, but the thing is you start thinking about breathing more than anything else, and it throws me out. Like I've come close a few times to just kind of, oh, this is cool, but then I start thinking I'm not thinking about breathing, and it throws me off.
Well, and I suppose maybe with some time and practice. I mean, I think that's why they call it a practice.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get past that part where you can just be introspective and spend time thinking about whatever you're working on versus breathe every moment.
So I listen to Joe Rogan quite frequently, and he's always talking about these immersion chambers that are
the float tanks.
Float tanks, and I've seen a few in Seattle, and I just haven't broken down and spent the money to try one out.
Yeah, they've got one in Salt Lake. Well, I think there's a handful of them in Salt Lake.
I kind of want.
I pretty much want to try just about everything Rogan pitches.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I wanted to say. So I have actually tried and been successful one time at doing a meditative thing. It was a thing called Yoga Nidra, and I don't know what exactly category it falls in. I don't know whose group it belongs to or whatever. I just had come across it at some point trying to do some kind of meditative something in life. And basically, it takes you through this exercise of breathing, and then basically you trace a imaginary light, from your heart to the tip of your toes to the top of your head, and you just sort of visualize this the whole time. And I found that, at some point halfway through the tape, I felt almost out of body. Like I'm laying there and I can feel my body, but my body feels heavy, but I feel light.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting thing. And it's funny because it was a good experience, and you feel like that would be compelling enough reason to do it again. And I have not successfully done it again since.
See, the thing for me is I think it's a mental block. I start thinking, oh, why the heck am I doing this? It's a waste of time. It's like...
Well, and for me, I guess I chase the dragon, but it's like a lazy chasing of the dragon. Like, I get into it, I'll start the tape again, 10 minutes in, and I'm not experiencing what I had before. I'm done.
Yeah.
and then not actually, give it enough of a chance to get deep again.
I've never tried yoga. I don't want to be that guy that comes in and looks like an
don't be
idiot.
confused. It's called Yoga Nidra, but it's not really yoga like bending and flexing.
Oh, okay.
This is just a meditation tape. But I will say I am a big proponent for yoga. Not only for checking out the old ladies in the room too, but it's, for me, it's really great. One of the things I am not is flexible. And so for me, I really like yoga. It's a stinking workout though, man. I'll leave there and my shirt will be drenched because it's hard work for me.
Well, isn't it like your core strength? Like you kind of you use all your muscles
some of that.
because you're trying
Yeah,
to...
that's probably a little more like Pilates is more balance and more that kind of stuff. Yoga is mostly stretching, or at least the form of yoga that I've engaged in.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I quite like it. It is a little bit meditative. I suppose when you get good at it, maybe it gets better. For me, it's just painful and I hurt.
Yeah.
But I always come out of it feeling better. And it's low impact, easy on your joints, except for that time I hurt my knee. And outside of that, I quite like it. Yeah, it was in Warrior 2 pose. I went too far with my knee and jacked up my knee. But I'm kind of a big guy, so I don't think my knees are, super
designed for that.
Ready for warrioring.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on, or to reiterate, take time for yourself and others, but especially yourself.
Yeah.
Sort of in that same vein, I think it's important, or that I've learned from the Spanish, is sort of to give of yourself to others. Be a good friend. Be a good, be there, be willing to help people, do what you need, and it can be charity, it can be, just your friends and your family and stuff, but basically give of yourself, offer yourself.
And one thing that I think is important too is in that light is if you say you're going to do something with a friend or whatever, don't cancel on them every time. Don't be a quote unquote friend, be an actual friend and be a shoulder for people that need it. Like if someone's having a hard time or someone's having, like a trying experience. I have a few friends right now that are going through relationship problems and dealing with kids and marriages and stuff that are, that's always hard. And, just having someone to talk to about stuff like that is super key. And I always try to...
Yeah, it can be massive.
Yeah. So, anyways,
really important
be a real friend and be there for them. Don't just say you're their friend,
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So, and then sort of, the next bullet that I have here is to build and maintain relationships. And so exactly what you're saying, you maintain relationship by being a good friend, and you build on that relationship and everything by, being there for people, and all that. So I think you pretty much have nailed all that. The other thing I recognize, or the other thing I just want to say is I realize that a lot of these components, these elements, when I go pitch them to people as this revolutionary stuff I discovered in Spain, people kind of, tilt their head sideways and look at me like, what are you talking about? You just like rediscovered something we already knew. So really this is my experience. This is how I decided to transition, or how I've started to find this balance.
Well, everyone kind of has their own life experiences.
That was the moment for me.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be something different for everybody else. But I just want to say that I realize that these things and finding work-life balance and having good relationships and all that stuff, I realize that it all exists in America as well, and probably in every country. It's probably definitely not unique to Spanish or to Spain. But for me Philippines, specifically, this is where I turn.
In the Philippines, they have a word for it, and I brought it up unintentionally. It's dong, and it's a common everyday phrase. It's for someone that just enjoys life too much and doesn't work and just kind of...
Well, that's what you say, but it's dangerously close to dong, and it feels like you're calling me a dick every time. So stop it with that.
Dong.
No, but I do. But I love that there's a word for it.
Yeah, it's just someone who's not married and isn't really moving forward in life. It's they're just hanging out And and if they're
Enjoy.
hungry, they go and climb a banana tree and eat a banana. Except you can't climb a banana tree, coconut tree. There you go. But
Nice.
yeah, anyways,
Well, so I just wanted to bring up a couple different things. I mean, we're actually kind of getting along in the show already. I don't want to go too far over, but I did want to just maybe touch on a few subjects, things to keep in mind as you seek out your work-life balance. And I suspect we'll get into this a little more some other time, but I think we've actually kind of hit on some good information on this show. But one of the things that I think it's particularly hard for me. I'm not really good at this. I'm a little wishy-washy sometimes when it comes to making choices. And but a characteristic of a person with a good work-life balance is that they'll often make deliberate choices about what they want in life. They know what they want and they're seeking it out.
yeah, no,
I have traditionally not been a great goal setter, and so I'm not particularly good at this. I need to probably be better, or I should be in therapy or something and see if I can overcome my ability to not make choices.
I need to be better in therapy or something.
But I can at least rationalize or logically come to a conclusion that, yeah, this makes complete sense to me, that, rather than just letting life happen, somebody who can achieve a work-life balance might make a deliberate choice about what they want and exactly how they want to spend their time.
Well, if you have something that you want to accomplish, that there's always something to be doing. So, like, granted, yes, you have your clients that they need this done by this time, but you have, okay, I want to buy a house in 2 years. How do I do that? Now you have a game plan. Now you have something to work for. Now you have a purpose for the work that you're doing.
Well, and it's so funny because when you say it like that, I mean, of course, we do a mini version of this every time for a client when a project comes in. We set a goal, we set, milestones along the way, we, whatever it is to get it done. But I mean, we're making these choices, and basically what you're saying is extrapolate that to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Whether you want to buy a house or get a new car or get a vacation home or go to summer camp, whatever it is, by making choices about what you want in life, you're better able to balance out what you want to do with your time.
Yep. And it gives you the drive to do the work and know why you're doing the work versus my client needs this by Tuesday. Okay.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think, to sort of push that a little bit further, and it's something that we talk about on this show and that we'll continue to talk about, is sort of being honest and communicating what's working and isn't.
Yeah.
To sort of take the previous point a little bit further, I mean, this, it's much easier to have a work-life balance if you're capable of communicating to other people, your spouse, your coworkers, your clients, that you have other things going on, or you're clear about the schedules and things that you're willing to share with people. Sorry, I don't take meetings Wednesday. Sorry, the way that you're changing this project is causing the scope to creep, and we don't feel like we can, deliver on that time.
Yeah.
But open, honest communication in not just in business, but in life and in everything else.
Well, if you
a
just
strong characteristic.
Scope creep is a perfect example of that. If I've been guilty of like pushing a lot of workload onto people and not realizing that I'm doing that, and then they. There's been, with this web project, there's been a few times where I'm like, well, let's do this, and working with the developers doing the back end, they're like, okay, well, that wasn't part of the initial thing. This is what I was under the impression of. This is what, and them being open and honest and verbalizing that it's a bigger problem than it, than I thought it was. Made me actually realize that, yeah, he's right. And,
Well, it's funny because what it is, and, it happens in the agency business all the time, but it's a communication thing almost entirely in that, you're right. I mean, most clients don't come from a bad place, or in this case, you didn't come from a bad place where you were trying to overwork someone and not pay them fairly. Same in the agency business. They're not trying to not pay us. Well, some might be trying to not pay us. But in general, they are, just saying, oh, hey, this thing I didn't think of,
This would
we
be
need
cool
to add
too.
that too.
Yeah.
Or this other thing, or what if we did this, or whatever. And over time, that can cause your scope to creep out, and it can modify, affect the way you bid a project originally and things like that. So it's important to stay disciplined on those subjects, but also communicate.
Yeah.
When your client tells you, hey, I need you to add this, or I think it'd be really cool if we did this, you just say, hey, man, sorry. That's going to cause the scope to creep. So either we need more time or we need more money.
Yeah.
But it's that open communication. And relative to work-life balance, you're going to be able to balance out your life a little bit better if you're not burning the midnight oil because you didn't tell a client that they had caused the scope to creep.
Yeah. Another really cool thing, we were talking about setting goals and parameters and having something to work for, along with the open communication and all of that. If your goals and the projects you're working on are kind of like aligned with what you're passionate about and what you're pursuing in your life, it's not work anymore. It's super easy, super like you have the desire to go and learn, spend a few hours learning something that because you're passionate about it. You're kind of going in the same direction that you're. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and you're in a situation much like me where, you enjoy your work and you enjoy what you're doing. It isn't work, which is actually, fodder for another show because this has been a problem in my own life with my wife, who she works as a school teacher, and she sometimes has difficulties with that or has problems with administration, things like that, and she has a hard time seeing me having too much fun.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we can get into it another time because we're already going a little bit long. But I mean, basically, if you enjoy what you're doing, then it may not always look like work.
Yeah, it makes it easier to do the work too, and the learning process and the work that you're doing doesn't feel it. Happy 4th of July, America.
Yeah, no kidding. Here come the fireworks, the petardos.
I did mention that I'm at a barbecue, and so we have going on, and I was happy.
I hope that wasn't the grill.
No. If that is.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try and rock through these last couple points real quick so you can get back to BBQ. I am going to eat some meat out of a refrigerator and have a little cheese and watch a movie. So pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So we've sort of touched on a bunch of these things. The idea of people setting their own parameters and having a sense of who they are, their values, what's important to them, and then using those as a barometer for how they set up their day and their work life. I think we've sort of covered that in the show. They also, to your point earlier, they turn off distractions. They get away from the iPhone. They get out, off the computer, turn off the TV.
With that, and like shut off the push notifications. Get to it when you have time.
Ooh, I'll tell you what, man, that little red badge when it pops up with like a new
it drives me nuts. It can be a notification
the only one I
on my
leave
bank.
and I will sit and I will just incessantly every time it pops up, I'm going.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. I mean, exactly that sort of thing is remove that kind of thing from your life, or this. A big one for me is email. I leave my email open all day. I'm all day in the email.
Yep.
And I've read a number of different people who say, turn off your email, check it in the morning, check it at night,
Yep.
check it, once a day, twice a day.
Well, if you're working on a project and you're waiting for an asset, that's one thing. But it's not practical. If you're getting like a spam thing and it's distracting you, pulling you away from the project you're working on, I think there was a book I was reading.
Yeah, I think it's really good advice. And if for no other reason than to open up your mind, open up your time, give yourself a little bit more, brain time.
Well, the book that I was reading was saying that like every time you pull away from the project, like just to check that spam email or that whatever, it takes like 2 or 3 minutes for your mind to engage back to the point that it was before. So you effectively, every time you look at your phone or check your email, you're wasting about 3 minutes of time or more.
Well, and it's even more than that for me. Like I've described the way that I work as sort of like a locomotive. Like I'm slow to get going, but once I'm going, it's game on.
Yeah.
But don't get in front of me because I can't stop.
Yeah.
But if I do stop, then
it's a
will
slow
take
start
forever
again.
to ramp back
Yeah.
up again. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's not necessarily a good way to be, but
It's a great
distraction
way to be, man.
to that
I love
point.
it because I can just,
No.
as long as I plan on this is my work time and I get the distractions out, that's kind of why like I said, I go on these trips.
Yeah, so to that point, the ridding yourself of distractions, I think, is a really strong thing you can do. Yeah. Obviously, there are a million things you can do to encourage a strong work-life balance in your life and in your career. I think, without going point by point, I think we've covered quite a bit of material today that sort of, discusses some of that stuff, and I think we can get more into it in future shows.
Sure.
But you just mentioned a book you'd been reading. Is that the one you?
I honestly,
were telling me about?
I can't remember what book that. I think that was The Accidental Creative, to be honest with you, with Todd Henry. But
so we've talked about that book on
yeah,
here
we
before.
have.
But you told me about a new book that you've been getting into. It's a little off topic, but if you wanted to talk about it.
I haven't read it yet. It's on my to-do list. I'm going to download it for the drive back to Idaho tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay, so book report next week.
Okay, I'll take notes. It's
All
called the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and
Very good. Do we know who wrote it?
I can pull it up real quick. It's
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's one of these books that's come out recently that's sort of floating around now.
written by Mark Manson. And I was at a barbecue the other day, and my buddy was like, "What are you reading?" And I'm actually listening to Helter Skelter right now, which is creepy. Don't listen to
Ooh,
it.
that is creepy.
It's scaring
Well, I
me.
mean, unless you're into like psycho murderers
Dude, yeah.
or the Beatles.
I got into it. Now I can't stop listening to it. And it's bad. But anyways, this will be a good change of pace from Helter Skelter to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's some parallels there. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We're going a little bit long. It's 4th of July. You got to get back to your barbecue. I've got to go to bed because it's 11:30 at night here, and I have class in the morning.
Yeah.
Although I'm going to watch a movie and eat my ham and cheese.
That's your
first.
personal time.
Yeah,
Scheduling your
work-life
personal
balance.
time.
And so, anyway, I just wanted to plug a couple little things on the way out. We wanted to remind everybody about our Spotify playlist, which I have been remiss in adding to, but Mike has been good about. So there's some music there you can go check out. I will add to it, though. I've heard some fun music while I've been over here, so
Good.
I'll add some tracks. Also, so for more about me or the company, I'm Ryan. The company is R2 Media Group in Salt Lake City and in Spain. The URL is r2mg.com. You can find us at R2MG on Twitter and at R2 Media Group on Instagram.
And I'm just djontic.com. That's ONTIC. And Twitter is at djontic. So and I've got mixes and music and my tour dates and all that stuff
All
on the website.
kinds of good stuff.
So
yeah. And as always, you can catch the show at eggscast.com and at eggscast on Twitter and Instagram. So we will be back next week. It will be, again, an international edition. And so looking forward to that.
and I'll be back in Idaho. Yay.
Yeah. And I'll be back in my flat talking to you at midnight. Woohoo. So anyway, with that, again, happy 4th of July, everybody. God bless America.
Yeah. Take care.